Hello everyone, I welcome you all in my YouTube class. This is Vishal Pandey and I'm here for a cause. Let me ask one question to you that do you know who was Vasco da Gama? Or do you know that who was Jahangir? Let me ask one more question. Do you know who were Britishers? Yes, you should all know these questions because we are going to discuss these all portions as well as all events related associated with your country's history. Indian history we are going to discuss in context of the Britishers, in context of the East India Company. So we are going to start, especially I'm going to start your chapter, the second chapter from your book, which is categorized as the establishment of East India Company's power in India itself. So we will start from Vasco da Gama because he was the man who discovered India, and India is not such a new country because we are our culture is near about 5,000 years back. We are enjoying our culture. It is so much ancient, but on the basis of geographers, on the basis of this modern history, India was discovered by Vasco da Gama in 1498. Now we will understand that from that perspective, from when he discovered India, what happened after that, and how Queen Elizabeth I was associated with the East India Company. We will discuss each and everything. There might be so many questions which will rise in your mind, and I'm going to solve each and every question, and we'll try to make the thing very much easier before you. So we will also discuss in this chapter that how the first Indian War of Independence took place in 1857, because without discussing the first war of Indian independence, which was held in 1857, you cannot understand the length and breadth of East India Company. So without wasting any time, children, let us begin this chapter. So children, as you can see on your screen, the chapter name has been given, the establishment of company power. Now this company is to be called East India Company. This company is to be called East India Company, and this company came in India from England. This company came in India from England. So this should be very much clear in your mind. And establishment means what? Establishment means construction, or when we launch something, when we organize something in a new way, that could be considered as the term establish, and for that we can call it the establishment. To start something new in a new country. This was all the concept, the establishment of company. Company was East India Company, and company came from England, and the word establish means to generate something. Now this is a timeline given on the first page of this chapter, and we will understand the timeline first, children, because it is very much necessary to go through the timeline, because what to read and what not to read is very much peculiar as far as your chapter is concerned. So you should understand the timeline, because this timeline will decide that how much of this topic we are going to learn, we are going to read in this interesting chapter. This is very interesting chapter because you will be able to understand how the Britishers came to India and how they survived in India, and then the third phase, how they left India as well. So if we see the timeline, it is starting from 1498. Children, you can see here it is starting from 1498 with the discovery when Vasco da Gama lands at Calicut. When he lands at Calicut, and he discovered India. He tried well ultimately, because he was from Portugal, which is known to be, he is to be called as Portuguese. Nowadays Portugal is called Spain, children. So he was ultimately from Spain, and he was a sailor. So his dream was to search some new continents, some new countries. So ultimately he reached India at Calicut. Calicut was very famous harbor at that time, port, you can say port it was. So he landed there, and he landed there in the year 1498. This is very important, children. You should know this, you should note this down. And after that, in the year 1500, many more Portuguese came in India. It means when you discover something, when you discover a way, then so many people will start traveling on that particular path. But if you will discover, you will be always remain, you will make a history, then rest will follow you. So this happened in India in the year 1498, and the Vasco da Gama discovered India. After that, in 1600, near about 100 years later, what happens? Some new interest came up with Britishers. Ultimately, in this year, you can understand, in the year 1558, this is something new for you, but you should understand this. It will help you a lot. From 1558 to 1603, this is very important. This time period is very important, because in this time of period in England's regime was in the hand of Elizabeth first. She was Queen of England. So you can see here the 1600, you can see it has been written British East India Company is established in 1600. Why it was established? This is the question. Because there were so many kings, Henry VIII, Henry VI, Richard II, many more kings were there in England. But ultimately, why British East India Company was established only in 1600? Why not in 1500? Why not in 1400? Because the reason was written before you, and the reason was Queen Elizabeth I. She became Queen of England in a very young age, and in the year 1558 she became queen, and she lived up till 1603. And in her regime, when she was ruling England in 1600 itself, British East India Company was established, or you can say East India Company was established, because she took this advantage that her country, means England, will now become the global power throughout the world. And she became a pioneer, and she started colonizing the countries like India and America, and then Africa as well, so and so forth. So she was the pioneer, student. We will understand, while this is only explanation of timeline. When I will go through the topic, I will explain each and everything about Elizabeth first, and later on when she established this East India Company. So basically there was a king, a Mughal emperor was running in India, and the king was Jahangir itself. So Sir Captain Hawkins and Thomas Roe, both of them, one by one they came to India, and ultimately they talked to Jahangir for the sake of trade, and ultimately Jahangir gave them permission. This was the mistake which was done by Jahangir, because he thought that they will only trade and they will leave the country, but they came with the new with new ideas, and their reality was something else. From the back door they established their country, established their company, and they started trading, as well as they were waiting for an opportunity so that they could lead the country itself, and ultimately they did it. After that, in 1650, what happened? In the year 1668, first French factory comes up at Surat. If you remember one thing, let me tell you this, that in Europe, France was the leading country. France was not so much lacking behind than England. So England and France both were competitive in terms of colonizing the countries. So when England was colonizing countries, France was also colonizing the countries. So France also came to India, and France developed his first French factory in Surat, which is situated in Gujarat, in the year 1668. And now you can understand, then, if England wants to colonize and France wants to colonize, both of them wants to colonize India, then both will become enemy of each other, and it happened straight away. So 1707 is the important year, because Aurangzeb dies in this year. When Aurangzeb dies, Britishers became more free, because they were only Aurangzeb was there who could stop Britishers in terms of colonizing the country, because Britishers used to become, Britishers only were fearful of Aurangzeb and nobody else. When Aurangzeb, they waited that this man should go, this man should die, and after that, when Aurangzeb dies, and Britishers started colonizing the country in the right areas without any fear. So they establish, in 1700, after that they started the war against Indian prince and Indian Nawabs and Indian sultans, everybody. And the famous war came in the year 1757, which is called the Battle of Plassey. I'm writing here 1757. The first war came, the Battle of Plassey, and in 1764 the second war came, the Battle of Buxar. You can see conquest of Bengal complete in 1764, which was started in 1757 with the Battle of Plassey against Sirajud-Dowla, the Nawab of Bengal, and it was ended in 1764 against Mir Qasim and Mir Jafar in 1764. And this indicates that the Britishers had whole, full control over Bengal, and at that time Bengal was Sinashore children, center of attraction for the trade and for commerce and everything. So after that, in 1799, Britishers defeated Tipu Sultan. How they defeated, what was the history of Tipu, and how he was defeated, and what he did for the sake of his, Mysore, because he was a native of Mysore itself. We will understand how Hyder Ali, his father, Tipu's father, fought against Britishers, and what Nizam did, Nizam of Hyderabad, what he had done. We will also understand this thing. So in 1818, you can understand British defeat the Marathas. Marathas were also defeated by Britishers. Ultimately, Britishers were defeating each and every kingdom, each and every royal family, and to those Britishers, ultimately you can understand that the one who fought with Britishers appropriately, they sign a treaty, because they know the rule divide and rule, they know the law of divide and rule. So ultimately, sometimes they used to do this as well. So this was through all this was the timeline, students, which we will discuss in our topic. So we will understand how the 1857 appear, and how Indian, especially the soldiers, and especially Rani Lakshmi Bai and Nana Sahab and everybody, I'm going to discuss Bahadur Shah Jafar, the last Mughal emperor, how they reacted against 1857, the revolt, which was the first one, and which shook the British Empire, which shook the British East India Company, was banned at that time in 1857. And the Governor General became the Viceroy of India. Lord Canning was in 1857 he became the Viceroy of India. We will discuss each and everything, so be prepared, go through the timeline, and from next video I'm going to start the topic individually. Each and every topic will be discussed by me. So be ready and wait for the next video. Till then, take care. Bye bye.